Wow, this is pretty amazing. Hello, sister wives.
Hello.
I mean, like, this is pretty surreal because I only really came across you guys about a month ago, actually, and it was literally on oh, someone's in the waiting room. And there was literally because it was I saw someone on Twitter posting up about Welsh Language Day, and they posted up yeah, it's one of your songs, and I just remember listening to half of it and just like going, wow, okay, this is definitely like kind of going on the I like bin, then instantly went into right, okay, from the I like to must have. I mean,
Nice, thank you.
yeah, so I think yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure how did the band start up originally. I mean, did you guys like have you guys known each other for quite a while?
No, like Lisa and I have known each other for I don't know about 8 years now. And Donna and Rose are also good friends before. So I moved to Sheffield about 5 years ago, and Donna was in this amazing band called Knack Texan. And I used to have a band in London and really missed doing music with people here. So yeah, just asked her if she knew anyone that would like to start a band and do some stuff, and luckily she was up for it. So we kind of had a few jams, just the two of us, and then realised that we kind of both, I think Donna had Rose in mind and I had Lisa in mind to come and join. And then yeah, it's been the four of us from pretty early on, hasn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, like I was just wondering, like with just like kind of sorry if I'm trying to think things off the top of my head because I'm not really a pro like to the journalist at all. But I was wondering like how did it work with like the songwriting process? Um, do you like kind of think of the concepts behind the songs when you're writing them, or is there any like kind of I guess like kind of storytelling?
Yeah, for me, I really kind of try and think of I do try and think of what I want to write about before I set about writing a riff or whatever it might be. Not always though. Sometimes it's a bit more organic than that. It's not as kind of thought through, and Rose or Liv or Lisa will come up with a riff and they'll kind of share it with us, and we'll kind of build on it and kind of think, oh, that'd be cool there, or that kind of suits with this vibe or whatever. So yeah, I do like to think of the concept in advance and think, oh, I'd like to create a song that has kind of this kind of feeling to it. So I guess the feeling that we're trying to evoke in the song is important overall. And I think that reflects, especially in Crags, actually, because you've got kind of Crags, which is a 6.5 minute, windy tale about two sides of a story, which we were really keen to put those stories across. And then Rise is very much a kind of, well, it's a slightly shorter kind of, we wanted that to sound just really powerful overall. So yeah,
it definitely comes across because it was actually Rise which I first heard, and I was just like, wow, okay, it kind of like sent me into like a kind of hypnotic trance, and like and it kind of reminded me a bit of obviously some of the stuff which I could compare it to could be stuff like kind of like some of Guano's really early stuff, but then also it kind of there's a Brazilian band who I really love called Raptor, who do a very kind of quite a similar sort of thing with the way with the hypnotic rhythms.
Yeah, I think for Rise, for Ivanayav, that was really the feeling that we wanted to create, that kind of hypnotism attached to that song, because the lyrics are about kind of summoning the ancient consciousness of land, and really tapping into what our forefathers and mothers felt about attachment to land and kind of what the earth really means. And I think there is an element of hypnotism that's attached to kind of, well, when you really think about that does kind of send you into a bit of a trance.
There definitely is, because it's like I think it's really interesting that it also sounds kind of mythical as well. Like as if in like the way that the records could have created and the artwork, it does have like a kind of like a slightly cavernous sort of feel. I don't know if that's the sort of thing that you were deliberately kind of going for at all, or whether that was like a kind of subconscious thing. I don't know if that's.
I think it's nice to hear, definitely, because I think we do set out to be sort of have this air of like bewitching nature. But yeah, I think it is good when people have responded with that they are a bit beguiled by it and like maybe think the whole package is coming across well, I guess.
Well, that's part of the thing for me. So quite often, if I'm speaking as a music fan, if I'm going to buy a record, I like to also like look at the artwork, and if the artwork's kind of partly sells it, then it's like, right, okay, if the artwork's good, then usually the music behind it's usually kind of really good.
That's cool.
So I think that there's definitely like a kind of an even keel in that sense. But I also really like the fact that you are kind of like dealing with folk tales, and maybe kind of like they're not always tales which this generation would necessarily kind of talk about, really.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, I'd like to, maybe we'll do more of that, but I think we all like folk music. It's something we're all into, and like the way I play the bass, like I used to play the banjo, so the rise riff is just a banjo riff, like so it's quite embedded in folk, I guess, even subconsciously. And yeah,
I think of it as like kind of, like when you look at even stuff like kind of like Richard Dawson and stuff like that, where he's taking it and he's like kind of, you could look at it and almost say, right, okay, we're doing like our own modernized version of it, like kind of, and the fact that you could be taking like something like telling the story of the modern day, but using it in like the old kind of descriptions.
Yeah, I think as well with the Welsh theme, story, myth, and legend come hand in hand with the Welsh language, really. And I think when it comes to how I've learned to sing, so I've learned to sing in a traditional Welsh folk tradition anyway, having competed in Eisteddfodau and coming from a long history of people who sing within my family, and that's how I sing in Welsh. I don't really know how to sing in any other way. So for me, folk tradition is inseparable from Sister Wives, really, even though I kind of didn't say that to Liv when I asked if she wanted to join my band, because I knew she'd probably be like I was just like, I really need to sing in Welsh, so just play in a band with me, please. And luckily she said yeah. But yeah, I think to many people, if you kind of described, we kind of do like big riffs but with like folky styles singing over the top, it could sound a bit cheesy, but I think it does. I think it works in our context, and I think as Rose sings as well, it kind of gives us a bit of a break in it, so it's not always just like my really traditional Welsh folks voice.
But I also think actually that it's really interesting for someone like me who doesn't necessarily understand the Welsh language, but sometimes in hearing it, it does have a beautiful context to it. And I feel that it's quite often, there's so many people who try and sing in English and it doesn't really, there's something that I find sometimes slightly jarring about it, especially if it's not their native tongue.
Yeah, true. And I think as well, kind of the other side of it is that we do try to tell the story of, that isn't always told, like in Crags. Rose can talk more about this because she wrote the lyrics for it, and I think it's interesting. But yeah, we're telling the side of the story of the witch as well as the side of the story of the people who lived in that community.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing, is that's the reason why I was asking about like like things like the songwriting process? Do the lyrics come first, or is it like kind of melody first, or is it sometimes just like someone just comes up with an idea and you just go, right, we're going to play with this?
Usually melody first, and then lyrics. But sometimes I guess one of us will come and say we want to do something that is about this subject, or has this feel to it, or has this little like, you know, twiddle in it or something that we like. So usually lyrics second, weirdly.
Wow.
But yeah.
I guess it's because of like you've got to think of like the context of how they fit within the song, I guess, as well. Because of like, I guess, I mean, like, because for me, I always find myself, even if it's a song in another language, I'll find myself inadvertently kind of sometimes singing along, but like imagining what the words would be in my own dialect.
That's basically what we were doing until Donna taught us what the lyrics were. We were kind of like, that sounds like she's saying this, and singing along when she's got this like beautiful stark high kind of melody over crags over the chorus. We were just like, that sounds like this, I'm just gonna sing these down. And we were doing backing and recording, and I think it was like only in that process that I think we'd seen the lyrics written down at some stage, but we were just getting to learn how to pronounce things as well, and for it to just like be delivered in the way that it was supposed to. But at first it was just sound-alikes. But I think, Rose has taken up, what is it, Duolingo? You're going to try and learn, and we should all really learn more Welsh.
Everyone should learn Welsh.
I reckon I definitely like kind of give it a bit of a stab, because like I think there is something like kind of really beautiful by the way that you say it's kind of written, but it's like but sometimes we lose something a little bit in translation, I feel.
Yeah, totally.
And that's quite hard as well, I guess, when we're translating the lyrics for, you know, the lyric sheet. That can be quite difficult because it doesn't always make sense in English.
Well, I think that's the thing. Sometimes you don't necessarily always need a lyric sheet. You just go to people, just listen.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we can explain a little bit of what the song's basically about, but then it's like, right, you've got to listen and you've got to be taken on the journey by the song. I mean, like, so it kind of like reminds me in that essence of like, also stuff like, you know, I watch bands like Nineback, for instance, who would do that. They'll go like, right, okay, this is the basis for the story, but you've got to go with us. You're going to be taken on like a travel, really.
Yeah, that's really nice, and I think that kind of makes sense for our first EP as well, because we were very conscious of the kind of sound we wanted to create as it went through the songs, and I think ending with the song "See My Grief" or Gweler ein Gofid is quite a good way of doing that, because it's quite a powerful song.
Yeah, I mean, I was also wondering, like, kind of, how's it been for you guys, obviously releasing music during the lockdown period? I mean, has it been a bit of a challenge?
Yeah, I think for us as well, we've had some of these recordings for quite a while, because the plan was that we'd kind of get them finished and then get them out in the world, and then obviously everything's happened, and I think for us it's just been nice being able to still put something creative out and kind of and be doing things like this and chatting to you and connecting with other people, because that's something that really, we really miss. It's like gigs are the biggest part of our lives as well, and our social lives and everything kind of revolves around it, and being cut off from that, it's very difficult, I think, for everyone. So it's been really nice just being able to put things out, getting people's feedback and also hearing everyone's spin on the songs. Like we've always said, we don't know exactly what style we'd call it. It's kind of a mixture. So I think having people telling us what they get from it it's really, really nice. It's just good way to like be connecting at the moment.
I mean, that's the thing. That's one of the things I really missed from not being able to go to shows as well. Is actually that it's so much more than just being able to go in a room with a band on the stage. It's like kind of it's like kind of cultural safe spaces really. And so it's like kind of, especially like with a lot of the smaller venues, it's like, right, okay, these are like places that I call my home technically. I mean, do you have any spaces like that where you felt, personal attachments to?
Definitely when we've played Clam or just any sort of gig. Yeah, I imagine. Are you based in London?
I'm actually down in Plymouth at the moment.
Oh,
but
lovely.
I'm based in Bristol.
Oh wow, yeah, I've not been for a long stay there, but yeah, it's meant to be amazing. But I bet it's really good for gigs, and I can't remember the last gig I went to now, but so Clam put on a lot of Sheffield-based stuff and like getting really good bands from around the world, and it's always the place to go to. And I think what we're really missing as well as playing is kind of getting into a space, going to watch a gig and being passive with friends. Even if you don't know everybody in the room, there's familiar faces and people that you're bound to like bump into, but not have to really. Yeah, because now you've got this like set amount of time with one person and you've got to be active in like chat and stuff, where actually it's nice to be really passive and to like absorb a thing, like absorb a gig and just be like, I'm here with all these people who are having this experience. And
definitely,
it's just a weird thing to not have all of a sudden.
I think
all of a sudden, it's been ages, but
yeah, I think it's been like, I mean, for me, because of it was like, right, okay, these are gigs of safe spaces, especially if you have any kind of form of social anxiety. It's like, here's something with some structure. The doors would be like 7:30, first band on like 8 o'clock, headline is about 9ish usually, and you knew that it'd all be over by about 10:30, 11. And because of having that structure, it's like, right, I could be safe to be around these people, even if I did stink the venue out because I hadn't not washed for a couple of days, sort of thing. it was just like, they are the safe spaces. And I mean, we were lucky in Bristol, as if for a short while we were allowed, like socially distanced gigs, and it was basically like, usually it'd be the same table with me and my kind of like oldest gig buddy friends who are pretty much all of them I made through going to gigs, and we'd all be sat around like kind of like tables sort of thing, and it just reminded me of like the gig is so much more than just the music.
Yeah,
it's about sharing experience.
It really is.
And the like chat in between, going outside, sitting on the street, all of that.
I miss the ability to actually get up and hug people, because I'm quite a huggy person.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, like I'll admit that but it's like my usual way of welcoming people is to like say hello to them and then give them a massive hug. Usually, and
that is tough, isn't it? We're not allowed to do any of that at the minute.
I know it also feels really weird when you see like things like, like festivals being planned to go ahead and stuff like that, and I wonder how you guys feel about it. Like potentially getting back up on the stage again.
Well, Liv and I have had we've had quite a difficult 2 years, really, purely because Liv and I have had babies really recently. So we had to kind of take a natural break for that reason. So when I was kind of ready to come back to music, Liv was kind of ready to have her baby. So we kind of had a standing guitarist for a little bit so that we could still play some gigs while Liv was having her baby. But then as Liv was ready to come back to music and stuff, then lockdown hit. So we haven't actually played together as a band properly for a really long time.
Wow.
And we had to record a song for a Super Furry Animals cover record that's coming out.
Oh wow. And
we've had to do that completely without practicing together in a room at all.
Wow.
Which is mental. Because it was so hard. Because the lag when you're trying to do it online is really discouraging when you're trying to learn a new song.
Yeah.
And also when we were recording, we were only doing it one at a time in the studio, so we had to record separately too. So we were trying to listen, you know. So it's been a huge challenge, but I think it's actually been really like fun in a way to learn how to do things in a really weird way.
But also, I think do you think it gives like the challenge of like, you know, seeing of like how you could embrace, you know, maybe technology in the future, you know, as if in like as well as doing, you know, like kind of shows, you know, places like the Clam and stuff like that, but you could also do stuff where you do kind of like a live stream as well.
We actually did a little practice where me and Rose, because me and Rose lived together, we went down and did drums and bass and streamed these guys in on a laptop on a chair.
Wow.
It was very hard. Yeah. But it didn't really work. But it was nice to at least have some sound, because we plugged them in to the PA. So it was nice to have sound and just to see their faces pop up, to have them in the room. But it was completely wild.
I can imagine it, especially also with all the things like lagging, and if there's any slightly dodgy internet, like someone freezes, it's like, okay, where are we in this song, or what song are we doing now?
It was more like, we're going to play this, you're going to listen, and then you're going to play something back and see how it sounds. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like, because I think that's one potential way for some of the venues to go, really, I think, would be to do like, so I know that places like the Louisiana, which is pretty much one of the venues in Bristol, which I'd say is pretty much my home venue. I mean, like they've actually named their hand stamp after me.
Oh.
So whenever you pay to go in, it says Big Jeff approved. And then and I stand, and I always have my one spot which I stand, which is like, it's right in the front left-hand corner, because admittedly I'm quite big, so I try and tuck myself into the corner as much as possible, like by the PA stack. But I was just like thinking, because of like how some of the venues going to survive. I mean, because obviously they've got to work things out where maybe they could do a thing where they have like a monetized live stream.
Yeah,
so
that's
I think venues will be doing it.
So if people like missed out on tickets for the actual gig, they could still watch it, you know, send it out through like kind of the streams across the world, really.
Yeah, it's quite an exciting concept, really, isn't it? The thought that it could be streamed anywhere in the world. That's so cool.
Yeah,
I've literally probably been getting a bit of sleep deprivation, so I have literally been tuning into live streams from around the world. Because I've been going like, okay, it's like there's something happening on Japanese evening time. Okay, that'll be like Saturday morning then, won't it? Or like, so be like, so it's there's definitely sometimes, especially during the first lockdown, where it was literally morning, noon, and night. It was like, right, okay, it's like, what gig's on?
I was going to say the beauty of it is that it's pre-recorded, you can watch it any time, but I guess it is the being there while it's happening that's the thrill, isn't it, really? You could watch any old recording from any time.
Well, it really is, because of like, for me, especially with some of them, I'd recognise all the people in the comments. And actually, you know, like, even though like you can't physically be there, you could still, if you recognise one or two people, you could still like kind of share jokes with them.
Yeah.
And still like kind of, you know, have that sense of being engaged. Whereas sometimes if it's entirely pre-recorded and like kind of there's not that kind of interaction in between the fans, and it does really lack something.
Yeah, I think do you think that gigs are going to come back even stronger than ever before now, though, because people have missed it so much that they're just going to be like, I'm literally going to go to every single gig?
Probably. I mean, like, the thing is that, I mean, who knows? I mean, I think it's going to take a little while before it does get like that. But I mean, because I'm probably going to be treading a little bit with caution, because it's got to seem like how things cope when, you know, people can go back to school and stuff like that, and like kind of with the vaccine rolled out, and see how that affects people. But I think there definitely is a crying for live music because of it, or like that crying for like kind of safe social spacings, really. I think that's the big thing, because I noticed that I think everything will sell out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could be like the band which should usually play to like maybe 100 people, probably now be selling maybe double the amount of tickets because of people have been waiting even longer to actually see you guys play live, sort of thing.
Yeah, like a local venue they're a really like fun venue. Like, excitingly, I won't give away too many details, but we've been asked to do some kind of club night for one of those, which is really exciting too.
I think that's the thing, is I think that, but I mean, like, I mean, so I'm kind of semi excited, but I'm also kind of nervous as well, because I know that, I mean, even though like admittedly my last show was in December, and so I haven't like, so like in terms of like other people, I haven't like kind of been that long. But also at the same time, it's that whole getting used to being around people again, and
Yeah,
actually, you know, like kind of, which is the reason why I've moved myself into my parents' flat. So like that's the reason I'm down in Plymouth at the moment, because of, you know, I survived the first lockdown just about right on my own, but then it was like, right, okay. But then as the second one, it's like, right, I've got to be around family. I've got to be around people who are going to keep me sane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've got like, I mean, I could have like many different things happening at the same time, but I've still got, you know, certain things which will keep me level-headed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, easing yourself back into that kind of thing is going to be super important, isn't it? And we are lucky, really. You know, in Sheffield, for example, we do come from a really supportive music community, like, yeah, Delicious Clam.
Yeah.
But also there's like other venues like the Lug Hole, who are also kind of a more punk space, but kind of, you know, a very supportive community. And we've also had Audacious Art Experiment. They're really, you know, they've changed now to Hatch. But yeah, it's essentially, we've been really lucky in Sheffield that we've just had just gorgeous communities, and it's kind of what's kept me in Sheffield, just how friendly the music scene is and how welcome I felt so quickly. I lived in Manchester before, I'd never felt that welcome.
Wow.
Well, it's just because Sheffield's so welcoming.
It's lovely. I mean, I've only been to Sheffield a couple of times, but it was just like, yeah, I just felt there was so much warmth there. I was like, yep, I can see why people, you know, why people do like want to kind of come around these like communal hubs here, because of, I felt accepted. And I was like, okay, that's just someone coming from someone who's like kind of like a bit of an outsider in Bristol, sort of thing. I think that, but I very much kind of, you know, I very much felt that warmth.
Yeah. That's nice. You're welcome anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've come down a couple of times because of I had a couple of short films which I made being screened at Sheffield Doc Festival.
Oh, amazing.
And then yeah, that was that was pretty incredible, to be honest. Because I was with a group of people called Different Voice. The project was called Different Voices. It was with a group called Bigger House Film, who are based in Bristol, and basically their aim was to set up a project to try and get like people with learning difficulties, help them getting into making short films. And so I've done 3 separate projects with them, and we were due to be working on our 4th project, you know, at the moment. Obviously COVID happened, and I was basically due to do like kind of a stop motion animation musical.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like, okay, if I'm going to bite something off, I'm going to bite something really big off.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like kind of like short 20-25 minute long film. But then the other time I was in Sheffield was I did a tour for Independent Venue Week, and so we ended up at the Lead Mill. And I mean, it was my first time ever going to the Lead Mill, and I literally felt like a kid in a candy shop, just because I was being shown all like the puddle, like Jarvis Cocker's original artwork, and like got taken on a tour of the building. I got asked to sign their artist book and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, you want my signature? Okay.
That's so cool. We I've never actually played the Lead Mill, and we haven't played as a band, but we're due to play there, aren't we, with Porridge Radio in the autumn?
Oh, Porridge Radio, awesome band.
Yeah.
That was one of the gigs that we had lined up for. What's that record shop that we had a gig at?
Oh yeah.
What were you saying?
Record Junkie?
Record Junkie. Yeah. That's another thing in lockdown. I've forgotten venues that I didn't go to every day, basically. Like there's loads of stuff that I'm like, that's not part of my vocabulary anymore. I don't remember. But anyway, yeah, we were supposed to play with Porridge Radio back in March.
Yeah.
And obviously everything, I think that was maybe even earlier, because it was when it all started to like shut down. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I managed to make it over to Record Junkie after going to the Lead Mill. I mean, like, so I did this kind of classic thing of going like, hang on, there's 2 acts really like on the same night in the same city, and literally venues about like kind of 5 minutes apart. Let's go to both of them.
I don't know, there's something that Sheffield's really good at. It's annoying, but there'll be a bit of maybe a small drought of gigs for gigs, and then there'll be like 6 things on in one night, and it's like, God's sake, why did you do this? I don't know how it manages to clash so badly.
I think in Bristol, it's like it literally turns into like an ocean flood. it literally does. I mean, like, to be honest, we do get spoiled. Like in terms of, because most of our venues are like, I'd say maximum about 10 minutes walk apart from each other. But then also that in terms, because we're like the biggest city in like the southwest, in like the West Country, then you know all the bigger acts, you know, they're ones kind of like West State will either be Bristol, Cardiff.
Yeah, that's so lucky. I think we kind of often bands will go to Leeds or Manchester, and then Sheffield does sometimes get left behind, which is kind of a shame. I think. But sometimes when you look back at old gig posters from here, and it's like all the big bands were playing, and we sort of get the odd big gig occasionally, but I think a lot of it's more just sort of new bands that are coming through to check out, really, rather than like the bigger names. But it might change now.
I mean, to be honest, like they're the most exciting anyway. You know, like as if in like like a lot of the best shows that I've ever been to have all been in mostly in small, like 150, 200 capacity rooms, or even less than that sometimes. Like, can I go and see like someone like Jeffrey Lewis playing in the basement of Cafe Kino, where it's literally 50 people, and all like,
I love Cafe Kino. Cafe Kino is my favourite thing in Bristol.
Oh man, it's I definitely miss that place a bit.
Yeah, the food's really good.
Oh man, the food is amazing. The food is generally like, if there's, I mean, like any venues with very great food, I'd say Cafe Kino and the Louisiana actually really, really look after the bands. There's so much so that they've had acts when they've gone bigger actually going back to them for the food. So it'd be like, whether it be like White Stripes, Scissor Sisters, I think even the Stripes, they were like, right, okay, we demand to have our catering made for us by Gianni, who runs the Louisiana.
I played with my old band Natex, and we went on a big tour with Sleaford Mods, and we played in, I can't remember what venue it was now, but I remember the highlight just being going for food on like somewhere amazing in Bristol. I think it was like an amazing curry that I found or something. That's literally all I remember about that gig, because I love food so much.
was that the Exchange? I think that
it might have been the Exchange. It was like maybe like 3 years ago now. It was in one of the like bigger venues.
Because I mean that's it's really funny because like Stephen Mods have got like a really interesting like relationship with Bristol because of it was actually Invader Records who originally signed them, who to release his was EP. That was purely because Paul Horlick, who is one of the members of Invader, he also like kind of co-runs a venue called The Exchange. He basically saw one of the videos and decided to book them and put them on, and it's like, right, okay, I really, really like them. I mean, the first time I probably saw Stephen Mods, probably about 15 people.
Yeah.
15
yeah,
20 people.
I think they were. I think I saw them once in Sheffield, and there was like it was a very, very small venue, and it was a good few years before I went on tour with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do recall just there being some really good food in Bristol. Sorry, I do focus on food a lot.
That's fair enough. Well, to be honest, if it helps you remember, then it must be good. You know. I think that yesterday I had to be asked for my like top 5 favorite like Bristol gigs, which is something which changes. I know it does change every single day. Partly for doing this, like Crack Magazine, we're doing this huge virtual online thing. So I had to record myself in front of a green screen because like for every single one of the listings, they're gonna like insert me in front of one of the venues.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Do you just have a green screen like handy?
No. Oh Jesus Christ, no.
What did you do?
No, they're doing it. They were doing it for everyone which they were interviewing. So everyone in the Bristol music scene, sort of thing. Of which obviously people know me for my obsession with gig going. I mean, like, because I probably have been to more live shows than I've had hot dinners.
It must be really hard then. Yeah, not going to how many a week.
Yeah, but then also like it kind of, I think the Times also made me realise how spoilt I was, and maybe how much kind of like I took probably some things for granted.
Yeah, I feel like there's never going to be a night that I'm like, oh, I'm too tired. Not going to happen ever.
Whereas for me, it was like, right, I've got to have a night where I used to have to like kind of have to have nights where I forcibly locked myself in. Because I was like, right, okay, I'm too tired to go to anything. It could be like, literally like kind of, I'd be going to things like Primavera Sound Festival, where I'd probably find myself going to see over 100 acts probably in total, because like I'll get so obsessed that I'd like kind of get back to my apartment like maybe 5, 6 in the morning, crash out for a couple of hours, then wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning and go like, right, okay, my brain's telling me to go out because of the OCG in me is kicking in. Like the fear of missing out.
I imagine festivals are really hard for you to decide what to go and see then.
I think sometimes they are, but then sometimes it's got to be, whatever I feel in the mood for. And then like, sometimes, because there's so many of them that I'll find that there's certain artists where it doesn't matter if I miss them the once, because I could probably go and see them like a couple of weeks later. Which probably does make me sound a bit arsey and a bit like kind of in that sense, but because you can't go and see everyone.
Yeah, I think the good thing about Primavera or like festivals of that sort of caliber is that you could just sack off the schedule and wander about and just be like, I'm just going to stay here, and it'd be absolutely mind blowing. Or like,
yeah,
it's all killer basically.
I mean, but the other thing is that I find myself, because they've got a fringe stage right in the centre of Barcelona as well. Yeah. And so that's where the 10 a.m. would kick in, because my brain would be going like, okay, there's some band playing from like Outer Mongolia or from like kind of Sudan or like someone like Poland. I mean, like the Polish takeover every single year at Primavera Sound will always be amazing, because there'll always be someone who will pretty much almost play everyone else off the bill. So like last year, it was like a kind of a jazz psych rock band called what are they called? Sorry, the name's slipped off my ton. But then you get like bands like Kurz, who makes like free jazz and post-punk together.
Oh, wow.
And you're just like watching it, kind of going, like, kind of scratching your head, going, this is freaking amazing. But this is like what would happen if John Zorn met on Speed, sort of thing. Yeah. I mean, well, I mean, I guess like also like, how do you feel like kind of whenever you can hear new people like hearing your music? So if that's a random question.
I didn't hear that question. Can you just repeat it? Sorry.
I mean, like, how does it like, obviously feel to you to get a record out to the world and then also to see people's reactions as well?
I think it feels incredible, doesn't it? Because I would keep thinking back to when we were writing all these songs and we were in our practice room and we were all like, do you think anyone will actually like this? It's just like we were very much just doing it completely for ourselves, and we were like, oh well, if no one gets it, like that's fine. We're having fun, and that's the main thing. But yeah, I think just seeing so many people really enjoying it, and sort of the amount of like support, getting DJs playing us on the radio and all this, it's never really experienced before. It's really amazing.
I think actually that's one of the things, the reason why I bought the physical copy, so I could actually, if whenever someone does ask me to DJ for them, so I could actually play it.
Oh, nice.
It's because of like, I don't like, because I'm lucky I get DJ Green Man every year, and so like and I'll literally turn up with my box full of records. And I don't like doing the whole thing, turning up with an iPhone and plugging in, just because I think it's lazy. And plus, also like having the kind of the show up of going look for live cards.
Yeah, and we're really happy to be in that box of records. That's good.
Oh man, I can't wait to hit people with it, because like, as I said, there was just something really kind of almost kind of bewitching about it, about some of the sounds that you've generated.
Thanks. I think, you know, we did, when we first got together, I think it was Liv and I were discussing, right, what do we like musically, and we kind of discussed what we had in common, which was a lot, but also we had a lot of things that we didn't have in common. And I would send Liv songs, she would send me songs, and we'd be like, oh yeah, that's cool in this and this is cool in that. And the good thing about having Rose and Lisa joining is that they kind of brought as a third and fourth layer to our musical sound, because they also have quite different musical tastes to us, even though there's quite a bit on the Venn diagram that also overlaps. Yeah. So that was cool. And then so that meant that kind of we very much came together and said, right, there's no specific genre we want to sound like, we want to make our own sound. And we made that kind of like really clear, and we kind of said, we're going to work as long as it takes until we absolutely nail the sound that we want to have, that we want to make. And for me, it was kind of, I had to explore, because I play synthesizers and keyboards and sing, and I'm really rubbish at technology. Like, I hate tech. I'm very, I like, you know, I get angry at stuff like really quickly. So I never want to play with tech. I just want to know how to make that sound straight away. So I was kind of like watching all these YouTube videos and trying to work out, how do I make my voice sound cool? And so I was like, you know, secretly doing this research in the background, not wanting anyone to know that I was like, you know, actually getting into tech secretly. But in the end, I think we took a long time, didn't we, to like really work out what our sound would be like, and how we would make our instruments sound the way we wanted them to. And also I had to do a lot of research into like what vintage instruments I could get to make certain sounds that I like from some like, you know, like I'm really into like Brian Eno. I love Brian Eno, and I love some of the sounds that he creates on Taking Tiger Mountain. So I was like trying to work out how he made some of those sounds, and yeah, it's just been really fun working with these girls, because they're just amazing, and they're very patient with me when I kind of get quite angry at my technology and kind of don't get it right.
That was something that we were met with the recording that we were talking about, the Super Furry Animals thing, the cover recently. We did that on a 4-track, and Donna's husband Rob recorded us, and we were like, so we've just got to do one take of the drums and like throughout, right? Yeah, there's no dropping in. There's so it's got this weird time signature that we just sacked off. We're like, right, we're coming up with our own arrangement for this. But I think in those circumstances, we have ended up with something a bit wild and like it's very us. And it took us a few days to sort of get used to like what it sounded like, and like that is it, we've done it now, like all the tracks are down. But I think it's really beneficial to have that side of just like zero tech and then tech applied in areas that we can really do with it.
And also I think it kind of allows your personalities to come across as well. I think it's part of it, you know, like as someone who's like a music listener, that's one of the things, is that it doesn't have a human pulse to it, you know, and that's usually what I relate to. I mean, I can imagine you guys can like probably sharing a bill with a band like Beak, for instance. Just because that was one of the first things which kind of hit me. Is like, I'd love to see like you guys with Beak sort of thing.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That'd be amazing.
Just send Mr. Jack Fury. Just send Mr. Jack Fury a message.
We'll play anything. We'll play absolutely anything if anybody wants to get in touch. Bristol, please have us. Let's play Bristol. Literally everywhere.
Oh man, that's the thing. I'd love to see it live, because of like, obviously to feel it, hear it on record, but then see it actually live is something completely else. Is why.
I think we're just so desperate to play live gigs now because we so miss it. You know, it's like for you, you know, it's an ingrained part of our daily lives, or especially our weekend lives. And you know, not playing gigs is really difficult. I was even playing a gig until the day before my due date with my daughter, so heavily pregnant on stage. Everyone was laughing, saying, "What if she gives birth?"
Yeah. Actually, that'd be amazing. That'd be like an amazing way to almost end the gig, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
it'd be like
we were kind of hoping for it, weren't we?
If you think about it, it's like the child's story being born at a gig.
I was like, it would be the most metal thing ever, wouldn't it? You know.
I mean, it might be like, so I remember seeing Gwenno play when she was like 9 months pregnant. Or something, when she played at the Louisiana, and it's like, wow, okay, this is literally any minute now, sort of thing.
Well, yeah, like we were discussing this. Liv and I especially have been talking about this a lot. It's kind of like you don't really see a lot of pregnant women play, and when you do see them play, you remember it because it's something quite rare. And I was just like, do you know what? F this, I'm getting on the stage, and I am going to play until that baby pops out. So and then I was quite keen to get back into playing really soon. So my husband used to come to gigs with me, put the baby in the sling and just hang out in the green room or wherever backstage with the baby, and I was playing the gig, and then we'd just go home after. Because I was like, that's going to have to be her life anyway. She's going to have to get used to being at gigs.
You know, that reminds me of this. Was it Nana Cherry? He did like a Top of the Pops performance whilst she was heavily pregnant, sort of thing. Yeah. And it's like kind of, because you don't often see, especially like kind of like pregnant females actually, you know, up on stage or out in like kind of public life, especially like female pop stars or something like that, really.
Yeah, I think I remember Gwenno, like those shows I saw in London, and she's the first person that I remember seeing pregnant, and I've kind of held that with me because even when I was pregnant, it was that thing of like, I know that Gwenno could do it, so I know that we don't. It's not like we get pregnant and suddenly we're not able to play and our lives change. It's like, actually, yeah, we can just slot it in. But yeah, there's not. I think she's like one of the few ones, and Donna, that I've seen that have been performing. But yeah, it's exciting. It's nice to know that your lives doesn't have to stop in that sense. It can just run alongside it, really.
Of course, but I think the thing is, though, it's just like the way which it should be seen is that it should be seen that you know, that life can be adaptable. Really, it's a bit like you know, like kind of whenever I talk about, you know, like people maybe on the autistic spectrum and stuff like that, like, you know, like different how it's just got to be like sort of, if we can make the environment adaptable to people from all sorts of backgrounds, and it makes it so much easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, like I do remember one thing though, like some DIY venues and stuff that not necessarily for me, but friends who are pregnant and stuff, you know, they'd still be smoking in some DIY venues. And then we'd like politely say, like, there's a pregnant woman here, like, do you guys like mind stop smoking? And still it wasn't something that was particularly taken on in some places. And I thought that was quite difficult really, because you just like, you obviously want people to be able to do what they want to do, but at the same time, you know, stopping smoking I think would be fair in that situation. Don't know.
Yeah, and especially like, I mean, like, that's definitely being like disrespectful as well. Because like, I've always found that, there's certain things which need to admittedly tick me off. One of them is like, in this, like, obviously stuff like smoking, but also like people talking really loudly during whilst the show's happening.
Yeah.
Because of like, for me, what it actually causes me anxiety.
Yeah.
Like listening to describe it, it's like kind of, if you imagine your head as being like kind of a radio, like in a transistor, you know, trying to pick up sound, trying to pick up radio signals, sort of thing, and all you can hear is static, sort of thing.
It is disrespectful to like quieter artists as well. I've been to a few really beautiful sort of atmospheric performances of people, and you just like turn around to people and like, I can't actually believe that your conversation is more important than this right now. But you can see how both ends of the spectrum. You know.
I mean, like, I remember going to see some like Orteca where they basically told everyone to turn all the lights off, so then they even had to turn off the fire exit lights and shut down the bar for their show. Because what they did was like kind of really ambient atmospheres, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Accessibility in shows.
Not to be a party pooper, but I think we have to go. I'm really sorry.
Oh, no worries, Liv. It's been an absolute pleasure doing this chat, and thank you for putting up an overly caffeinated me.
So nice to meet you.
Oh man, I wish I could give you all a massive hug in real life.
Really soon.
All massive virtual hugs. One day though. One day you'll get a sweaty, stinking me.
You need to make sure we get gigs in Bristol, but we've also never played in Wales, so I think it will just fit into our Welsh tour when we do one.
Oh man, you should definitely apply to be Green Man.
Yeah,
Green Man. I mean, like, that was one of the things which I thought was a bit like, oh yeah, if you see like any festivals, I mean, Green Man Festival would be ideal, I think.
I feel like we'd be going back to our roots if we went there.
Yeah, you probably would be actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you so much for partaking in this chat.
Thank you so much.
Look after yourself, guys.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye bye.